Exposure to this dynamic may increase the likelihood of rage in adulthood in the child exposed to it, or at least difficulty regulating strong emotions such as rage. Scapegoating. Narcissistic parents can sometimes scapegoat one child in the family system. Often they would choose the child they are most threatened by. It's paradoxical, as they may scapegoat the child they most need because that child is a source of validation or is a high achiever. They will also scapegoat this child for reasons that otherwise threaten their public persona. For example, the child may exhibit characteristics or have an appearance that the parent feels unacceptable. It is as though the shame of needing the child results in projection of negative thoughts and behaviors onto that child. Among many of the people interviewed for this book, the scapegoated children were either the oldest, more successful, had more friends, or were more intelligent than their siblings, or posed some other threat to the ego of the parent. The parent may even have felt competitive with the child. This is an extraordinarily painful dynamic for the child, who may feel as though the entire family system is conspiring to bully him or her, and highlights fears of ostracism and isolation. It is not usual within a narcissistic family system. It is not unusual within a narcissistic family system, in addition to the scapegoated child, for there to also be the golden child, a role that is not always a simple one. They may receive the best of the narcissistic parent's acclaim, but they may also feel beholden to the parent, responsible for the parent, or even a sense of survivor guilt for being the chosen one, while other siblings was being scapegoated. Interestingly, many golden children will report that they found it even more difficult to distance themselves from the narcissistic parent as adults for a complex set of reasons, including guilt, fear, confusion, duty, and obligation. Narcissistic parents' inability to differentiate between themselves and their children can lead to patterns such as rejection and envy. They will rally the other children or other stakeholders in the family system against the child. And siblings may join in to create a stronger alliance with them, because these siblings too may feel competitive or jealous of the child or fear the narcissistic parent. In the most extreme cases, the scapegoated child in the family in this system will be abused, while other children do not experience abuse, a dynamic that negatively impacts all siblings within the family system. The effect on the child. Isolation, fear, and post-traumatic symptoms can be observed. Children may also be deeply confused as to why they were the sole target of the parent in a situation in which there are other siblings. This dynamic is obviously psychologically and potentially physically harmful to the child, but it also negatively affects other siblings in the family system who may subsequently feel guilt for participating or have survivor guilt for not being the target of the abuse or for not attempting to save their sibling. It may also model scapegoating behavior for the other children in the family, which they may take into future relationships. How does this play out into adulthood? The scapegoated child may be very untrusting as an adult and may find it difficult not only to trust in intimate relationship, but also to trust other systems. There can be real fear that within groups of friends, in school, or in work settings, the scapegoating dynamic may replicate. There may also be long-term psychological and psychiatric fallout, manifested through mental illness, risky behavior, or other maladaptive behaviors such as substance use. Over and under-indulgence. Parents who are narcissistic and entitled are on when it works for them to be on, and off when they are off. Their onness and offness do not tend to mirror what the child needs. They just reflect where the parents are. When narcissistic parents do accurately mirror what the child wants, it is typically just a happy coincidence, which can be more difficult for the child in the long run, who believes the parents can get it right, not knowing that the times they did get it right are likely just luck of timing, rather than the parents being connected in any meaningful manner. This pattern tends to be materially and superficially overindulgent. The theme park parent who is good for the big moment, the parent who purchases all of the latest electronic gadgets. but emotionally underindulgent or altogether absent, has no interest in really noticing or listening to the child when it is about feelings, vulnerabilities, or anything else that is not gratifying to the parent. It can be quite confusing for children who may have a comfortable home, plenty of toys, lovely clothes, and even lots of other interesting experiences, like vacations, yet who are rarely, if ever, heard or listened to. Their emotional and internal worlds are completely underindulged. Effect on the child. Children in an over and underindulgent situation are confused. There can be some guilt that emanates from this because on one level, their lives look cool and interesting, as there is often a wealth of stuff, but on another level, there is little time or awareness from their parents. When I have worked with clients who experience this pattern of over and underindulgence as a child, more than once, they have said that they would have traded in the material stuff for an emotionally available parent. Children often receive the message from their parents that their material needs are being met, so asking for anything more is hubris. You have everything a kid could want. What else do you want? Children may not understand or be able to articulate that they have other needs and will often just participate in the superficial stuff and needs that are being met, but miss out on the crucial period of developing an emotional vocabulary and an intrinsic value system. That was a little struggle. How does this play out into adulthood? There may be a tendency for people to over and underindulge themselves in adulthood. This may play out in seeking solace in superficial pursuits, such as shopping or acquiring expensive items, but not attending to their own emotional and internal needs. The echoes of guilt and confusion that may accompany this pattern may also surface as disappointment and frustration, a pattern that may be carried into adult relationships or a pattern of falling into relationships with people who provide well materially, but not emotionally. Over and underindulgence can also be a setup for their own narcissism in adulthood, because they were taught to regulate through external stimuli rather than internal modulation.
If you keep watching this series and thinking, something here feels uncomfortably familiar, that is your discernment waking up. The next step is not another video. It is clarity. The Decision Audit Toxic Parent Edition can provide that clarity. This audit helps you decide whether to keep full contact, limit contact, or step back from a toxic parent, based on evidence, not guilt. You are not deciding how to treat them. You are deciding how much access they get to you. Download the Decision Audit Toxic Parent Edition today. Link in bio